Rita had always believed in the strength of her marriage. 4 years together with Samir had felt like a dream, and now she was expecting their first child. Life seemed perfect, or so she thought. But in the past few months, Samir had started changing. He became distant, secretive, and often irritated without reason. Rita tried to ignore it at first, convincing herself that pregnancy hormones might be affecting her perception. Then came the late-night calls, whispered conversations, and messages that disappeared the moment she entered the room. Something didn't feel right. One evening, while Samir was in the shower, Rita accidentally overheard him speaking on the phone. "Everything is set. Nothing will stand in my way," he said. The words hit her like a knife. Fear and confusion coursed through her, and for the first time she realized her husband might not be the man she thought she knew. Rita confronted him gently at first. "Samir, is something wrong? You've been so distant." He laughed, dismissing her concerns. "You are imagining things. Stop being paranoid." But Rita's instincts told her otherwise. Determined to protect herself and her unborn child, she began quietly gathering evidence. She saved messages, took screenshots, and even recorded conversations when she could. The more she discovered, the clearer it became. Samir was hiding money, lying about expenses, and most shockingly, planning something that could ruin her. The breaking point came during a family dinner. Samir publicly humiliated Rita, mocking her for thinking she was smart enough to notice anything. The laughter of relatives stung like fire. Rita felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and sadness, but she refused to crumble. She knew she had to act, not just for herself, but for the safety of her child. Within a few days, Rita met with a lawyer and filed a case against Samir. She sought protection, financial security, and justice. The courtroom became her battlefield, and she was ready. The day of the trial, she entered the courtroom with a calm determination, her growing belly a symbol of life and hope. Samir, on the other hand, walked in with a smug smile, certain he would manipulate the situation to his favor. Little did he know, Rita had prepared more than just a case. She had evidence, witnesses, and a secret that would turn everything upside down. Her heart beat fast, but her mind was sharp. She was no longer the woman who silently endured humiliation. She was ready to fight, and this time she would not back down. As the judge called the session to begin, the tension in the room was palpable. All eyes were on Rita and Samir. The stage was set, and the battle for truth and justice was about to unfold. If you want to know the shocking secret Rita held that could turn the tables on her husband, stay tuned for next. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for the full story. The courtroom was buzzing with whispers the moment Rita stepped in. Friends, relatives, and curious onlookers had gathered, eager to see the drama unfold. Samir entered moments later, his posture relaxed, a confident smirk on his face as if he already owned the room. He leaned back in his chair, whispering to his lawyer, "She's scared. She doesn't stand a chance." But Rita's heart was steady. She took her seat, her hands resting on her growing belly, her eyes fixed on the judge. She knew fear would only give him power. Today, she was not just fighting for herself, she was fighting for her unborn child, and she was determined to win. Samir's lawyer started the proceedings with a barrage of accusations, painting Rita as unstable, paranoid, and unfit to handle the responsibilities of marriage and motherhood. The courtroom's atmosphere became tense. Everyone turned to watch Rita's reaction, anticipating a flustered, emotional response. But Rita remained calm. She had a plan. When her turn came, Rita began presenting her evidence systematically. Each screenshot of suspicious messages, each recorded phone call, every unauthorized bank withdrawal, everything was documented meticulously. The courtroom murmured as they realized the weight of her proof. Even Samir's smirk began to falter. Not willing to back down, Samir interrupted. He laughed, trying to belittle Rita in front of the judge. "This is ridiculous. She's imagining things," he sneered, glancing around for approving nods from the spectators. But Rita didn't flinch. Instead, she pulled out a sealed envelope from her bag and handed it to her lawyer. Inside was the most important piece of evidence she had been saving, a secret video recording of Smir speaking to someone about transferring assets and leaving Rita and their baby without support. The video played on the courtroom screen, and every word he had spoken in secrecy now echoed for all to hear. The room fell into stunned silence. Smir's smirk froze. He looked around, realizing the audience, the judge, and even his own lawyer were witnessing the full extent of his betrayal. Rita's lawyer followed up by presenting financial records that confirmed large sums of money had been moved without Rita's consent. The court was now fully aware that Smir's actions were deliberate and premeditated. Just as it seemed the tide had turned, Rita revealed her final weapon, a witness who had previously promised to stay silent. The friend came forward confirming Smir's plans and exposing the extent of his deception. Gasps echoed throughout the courtroom. Smir's confident demeanor had vanished completely, replaced by fear and disbelief. For the first time, Rita saw the man she once trusted truly afraid. She felt a surge of hope and determination. Today, she had taken the first real step toward justice, but the battle was far from over. The shocking twists had only just begun. What will happen next as the truth continues to unfold in the courtroom? Don't miss next topic. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel to follow the full shocking story. The courtroom fell silent as the video played. Smir's every word, every calculated plan was now exposed for all to see. His confident smirk had vanished, replaced by a stiff, frozen expression. Rita's heart pounded, but she remained composed. For the first time, the scale of justice seemed to tip in her favor. Rita's lawyer wasted no time. He presented bank statements and transaction histories showing massive withdrawals Smir had made without Rita's knowledge. Money meant for their future, meant to support the baby, had been funneled into secret accounts. The courtroom audience gasped as the pattern of deception became undeniable. The evidence was overwhelming. Smir tried to regain control. "This is fake. She manipulated everything. None of this proves anything," he shouted, hoping to intimidate Rita and sway the judge. But Rita had anticipated this move. She calmly provided metadata for the video and time-stamped messages, showing beyond doubt that the recordings were authentic. Then, as if the tension couldn't rise any higher, the judge signaled for a surprise witness. A close friend of Smir's, someone everyone had assumed would side with him, stepped forward. With a firm voice, the witness confirmed everything Rita had claimed. Smir had planned to transfer all joint assets into his name and leave Rita and their unborn child completely vulnerable. The courtroom erupted with whispers, many people shaking their heads in disbelief at Smir's betrayal. Smir's face turned pale. For the first time, he realized that no lies, no smirk, no manipulation could save him. The courtroom, which had once seemed like his stage, had turned into a trap. Rita stood taller, despite the tension and exhaustion of pregnancy, her resolve radiating from every gesture. But the most shocking twist was yet to come. Rita revealed an email she had obtained months earlier, a confession from Smir to a business associate, clearly outlining his plans to leave her with nothing. The document was meticulous, detailed, and damning. The judge read it carefully, his expression tightening with each line. The courtroom audience leaned forward, sensing that the scales of justice were about to shift irrevocably. Smir tried one final attempt to maintain control. He began speaking, stammering, and pleading for mercy, but it was too late. Rita had dismantled every excuse, exposed every lie, and presented irrefutable evidence. The spectators watched, riveted, as the man who had once mocked his wife now struggled to defend himself. Rita's courage, meticulous preparation, and determination had transformed what seemed like a hopeless battle into a story of empowerment and justice. The courtroom tension was palpable, and everyone waited, breathless, for the judge's next move. What will the judge decide, and how will Samir react to this shocking exposure? Find out in next. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel to stay updated on this incredible story. The courtroom was electric with anticipation. Every eye was on Rita and Samir, and the tension was so thick it could almost be cut with a knife. Samir sat rigidly, realizing for the first time that his usual charm and arrogance would no longer save him. Rita, on the other hand, remained calm and poised, her determination shining through despite the exhaustion of pregnancy. The judge, with a stern look, asked Samir to respond to the mounting evidence. He stumbled over his words, attempting to downplay the videos, the financial records, and the witness testimonies. "These are all fabrications. She's trying to manipulate the court," he blustered. But Rita's attorney was ready. Every claim he made was immediately countered with undeniable proof. Emails, recorded conversations, financial statements, all meticulously organized. Then came the moment that truly shocked the courtroom. Rita revealed another critical piece of evidence, a hidden account that Samir had forgotten about, containing a substantial sum of money that had been siphoned from their joint finances. The judge's eyes widened, and the spectators gasped. Samir's face drained of color. The man who had laughed and mocked Rita was now visibly shaken. It wasn't just the evidence that turned the tide, it was Rita's courage. She spoke directly to the court, her voice steady, every word echoing with confidence. "I trusted him completely. I believed in our marriage, but I could not allow my child and myself to be left unprotected. This evidence proves that betrayal and deceit were part of his plan." The courtroom fell silent. Even Samir's lawyers looked on in disbelief, realizing the gravity of the situation. The judge paused, reviewing every document and listening to every testimony. Then, unexpectedly, he allowed a final witness, a former colleague of Samir's who had information about his intentions regarding property and finances. This witness confirmed Rita's claims and added shocking details that Samir had been planning to move overseas, leaving Rita with nothing. The courtroom gasped again, the air thick with tension. For the first time, Samir's smirk was gone. He no longer had the confidence to manipulate anyone, and his attempts at intimidation had failed spectacularly. Rita, standing tall despite the anxiety and fatigue, had not only defended herself, but had exposed her husband's entire plan in front of the court. As the session adjourned for a short break, the spectators whispered among themselves, amazed at Rita's bravery and intelligence. It was clear, this was more than a legal battle. It was a story of courage, justice, and standing up when the odds seemed impossible. Will Rita secure justice? And what shocking move will Samir try next? Don't miss the next. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel to follow the full story. The courtroom was tense as the trial resumed after the short break. Every spectator leaned forward in anticipation, sensing that the climax of this story was about to unfold. Samir's confidence had completely evaporated, replaced by anxiety and desperation. He fidgeted in his chair, avoiding eye contact with Rita, who sat composed and determined, ready to face him head-on. Rita's lawyer began by summarizing the mountain of evidence presented so far. "Your Honor," he said, "we have proven beyond any doubt that Samir intentionally deceived his wife, misappropriated joint finances, and planned to abandon her and their unborn child. We now request the court to consider protective measures and financial security for Rita and her baby." Samir's face turned red with fury. He jumped to his feet, shouting, "This is unfair! She is twisting everything to her advantage! None of this is true!" His voice cracked under pressure, and the courtroom audience could see the fear behind his anger. The judge, however, remained calm, motioning for him to sit. Then Rita stood. Despite the heaviness of her pregnancy and the tension in the room, she spoke with unwavering clarity.
"I trusted him completely," she said, her voice ringing through the courtroom. "I believed in our marriage, but he betrayed not only me, but our child. I cannot allow that to continue. Today, I am not only standing up for myself, I am standing up for our baby, who deserves a safe and secure future." At that moment, the most shocking twist of the trial occurred. A hidden witness, a former business partner of Smirks who had remained silent until now, entered the courtroom. This person revealed documents and emails showing that Smirks had been planning a larger scheme, transferring all assets and property into his name and even falsifying legal documents to leave Rita with nothing. The audience gasped, and murmurs filled the courtroom. Smirks' hands trembled, and he could no longer maintain his composure. Rita's lawyer presented the final piece of evidence, a timeline showing Smirks' calculated steps to betray Rita, including secret bank transactions, suspicious meetings, and messages proving his intentions. Each point was undeniable, leaving the courtroom stunned at the depth of his deception. Smirks slumped in his chair, realizing the walls had closed in. For months, he had believed he could manipulate everyone, laugh off his lies, and emerge unscathed, but Rita had outsmarted him at every turn. The courtroom was now fully aware of his betrayal, and there was no way to deny the overwhelming evidence against him. As the judge prepared to make a ruling, Rita sat back, her heart pounding but her mind calm. The fight had been long, the betrayal deep, but now justice was within reach. She had faced her fears, exposed the truth, and refused to be silenced. What shocking decision will the judge make, and how will Smirks react? Don't miss the next. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel to follow this incredible story.
The room fell into a heavy silence as the judge prepared to deliver the ruling. Every eye was fixed on Smirks and Rita, both of whom were bracing for the outcome. Smirks' earlier confidence had completely vanished, replaced by nervous fidgeting. His plan to humiliate Rita and manipulate the court had failed spectacularly, and he knew the consequences could be severe. The judge cleared his throat, calling the courtroom to order. After reviewing all evidence, including video recordings, financial statements, witness testimonies, and documented communications, this court finds the claims of Miss Rita to be substantiated and credible, the judge began. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. Rita felt a mixture of relief and triumph. Her months of preparation and bravery were finally paying off. The ruling continued. Mr. Smirks has been found to have engaged in deliberate deceit, misappropriation of joint finances, and planning actions that would endanger the welfare of Miss Rita and her unborn child. Therefore, this court orders the immediate protection of Miss Rita and the secure allocation of assets to ensure the well-being of both mother and child. Smirks' face turned ashen. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. The courtroom audience whispered, witnessing the dramatic shift from his previous arrogance to complete helplessness. Rita sat with her back straight, feeling a surge of vindication and empowerment. Every insult, every sneer, and every moment of humiliation she had endured now seemed worth it. Justice had been served. But the surprises didn't end there. The judge also ordered Smirks to attend mandatory counseling and complete legal obligations regarding child support and property division. Furthermore, a restraining order was put in place to ensure Rita's safety. The judge's voice was firm, leaving no room for negotiation. Smirks' attempts to manipulate or control were officially blocked by law. Rita exhaled deeply, feeling the tension finally leave her body. She had not only protected herself, but had also secured a safe future for her child. Her months of courage, careful planning, and persistence had turned a potentially devastating situation into a story of empowerment. She realized that facing betrayal head-on was not just about survival. It was about reclaiming dignity, respect, and control over her own life. Smirks sat silently, knowing that this chapter of his life had ended in defeat.
The courtroom had seen his arrogance crumble, replaced by accountability. Rita had stood up in the face of betrayal and emerged victorious, proving that courage and determination can overpower deceit and manipulation. As the court session adjourned, spectators approached Rita to offer congratulations and support. It was clear that her story would inspire many, showing that standing up for oneself, even in the most challenging circumstances, is always worth the fight. What will Samir do next, and how will Rita move forward after this shocking victory? Don't miss the next. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel to follow the full story.
Life seemed to settle for Rita after the courtroom victory. She felt a sense of relief and security, knowing that both she and her unborn child were legally protected. Friends and family celebrated her bravery, and even strangers were inspired by her courage. But just when she thought the nightmare was over, an unexpected twist shook her world once again. A few days after the trial, Rita received a mysterious phone call. The voice on the other end was hesitant but urgent. "Rita, it's about Samir. You need to know the truth before it's too late," the caller said before abruptly hanging up. Rita's heart raced. Could there still be more secrets lurking in the shadows? She couldn't ignore it. Determined to protect her child, she began investigating quietly. Her search led her to a shocking discovery. Samir had been involved in secret dealings that extended far beyond their personal finances. Business associates and former colleagues revealed that he had hidden not just money, but important contracts and investments that he intended to claim after the baby was born. If Rita hadn't acted in court, she would have been left not only emotionally betrayed, but financially ruined. But Rita didn't panic. She had learned to stay calm and think strategically. She reached out to a trusted lawyer specializing in business law. Together, they mapped out a plan to secure all hidden assets and ensure that nothing could be taken from her or her child. What had begun as a personal fight had now turned into a battle against a much larger scheme. Meanwhile, Samir, still reeling from the courtroom defeat, tried to regain control. He attempted to contact Rita, sending messages filled with excuses, promises, and desperate pleas, but Rita ignored them. She had learned that confronting deceit with fear would only weaken her position. Instead, she focused on gathering evidence and preparing for the next legal steps. The most shocking revelation came when one of Samir's associates stepped forward voluntarily, confirming the full extent of his secret plans. The associate revealed documents and emails showing that Samir had intended to manipulate property ownership, redirect funds, and even involve third parties to pressure Rita. The courtroom battle, as it turned out, had been just the beginning. Rita realized that her courage, intelligence, and persistence had not only saved her in the past, but would continue to protect her in the future. She had turned betrayal into strength, humiliation into power, and fear into determination. Her story had now become one of resilience and empowerment, proof that no matter how clever the betrayal, truth and courage always prevail. As Rita prepared for the next steps, she knew she would face challenges, but this time she was ready. The woman who had once been humiliated and doubted was now unshakable. Her baby, her life, and her dignity were safe, and she would ensure that justice would follow through completely. Will Rita fully uncover Samir's schemes, and what shocking moves will he try next? Don't miss the final part. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel to see the shocking conclusion. The final chapter of Rita's battle unfolded like a storm in the courtroom. Months of preparation, courage, and careful planning had brought her to this moment. Samir, who had once laughed at her in disbelief, now faced the full weight of his actions. His arrogance had crumbled, replaced with desperation and panic. But Rita stood unshaken, a symbol of resilience and strength. Rita's lawyer began by presenting the newly uncovered evidence of Samir's secret dealings. Documents, emails, and witness statements detailed how Samir had attempted to manipulate business contracts, divert funds, and even involve third parties to pressure Rita into giving up her rights.
The courtroom audience listened in stunned silence, realizing that Samir's betrayal was far more extensive than anyone had imagined. Samir's face went pale. He tried to speak, to defend himself, but Rita's confidence made him hesitate. This time, she didn't just defend herself, she confronted him directly. "You thought you could control me, humiliate me, and leave me powerless," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "But the truth always finds a way to come out, and today, justice will be served, not just for me, but for my child, who deserves a life free from your deceit." The judge nodded, impressed by the clarity and composure with which Rita had presented her case. He reviewed the evidence meticulously, acknowledging the severity of Samir's actions. "It is evident that Mr. Samir engaged in deliberate schemes to defraud, manipulate, and abandon Miss Rita and her unborn child," the judge declared. "This court rules in favor of Miss Rita, ensuring her complete legal, financial, and personal protection." The ruling also included a comprehensive financial settlement, guaranteeing Rita access to all joint assets, the secure management of hidden accounts, and strict enforcement of child support. Samir was ordered to face legal consequences for his deliberate deceit, and any attempts to interfere with Rita's life or property would result in immediate action. The courtroom erupted in whispers and applause. Rita's strength and determination had not only brought justice, but had also sent a clear message: betrayal and deceit could not overpower courage and truth. She felt a surge of relief, triumph, and empowerment. Months of fear, anxiety, and uncertainty had finally led to freedom and security. Samir, now defeated and exposed, slunk away quietly, realizing that his attempts to control and manipulate had failed spectacularly. Rita, meanwhile, embraced her new chapter of life, ready to welcome her child into a safe, loving, and secure environment. She had turned humiliation into power, betrayal into strength, and fear into determination, a story that would inspire anyone facing seemingly impossible challenges. Her journey was proof that even in the darkest moments, courage, persistence, and truth could shine brighter than deceit and arrogance. This shocking story of betrayal, courage, and justice has finally come to an end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more incredible stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat.